Allison found Dr. Martinez in her lab, working furiously at her computer. The scientist looked up in surprise as Allison entered and sealed the door behind her. "Captain, there's fighting all over the ship. What's happening?" "Mutiny," Allison said simply. "Frank Warren is trying to take command. Danny Blackwell has damaged the weapon systems. I need your help." Olivia hesitated. "What kind of help?" "The ship's eye. You programmed it. Can you use it to lock out the mutineers? To give me back control of the Retribution?" Olivia looked at her for a long moment. "I can. But first, what will you do if I help you? Will you destroy Keldar Prime?" The question hung between them. Allison had been so certain just hours ago. Destroy the planet. Make the Keldari pay for Earth. But now, looking at the scientist's troubled face, she felt her certainty waver. "I don't know," she admitted finally. Olivia nodded and turned to her computer. "That's the most honest answer you've given in weeks." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "I'm activating the emergency command protocols. The security teams won't be able to access critical systems. You'll have control of the bridge again in minutes." True to her word, the ship's systems soon responded to Allison's commands. She watched on the security feeds as Frank Warren and his people found themselves locked out of the ship's controls. Danny Blackwell and his engineers were confined to engineering by sealed doors. Allison made her way back to the bridge. The crew members still loyal to her stood at their posts. Rick Miller was there too, recovered from the stun blast, a bruise on his cheek. "Captain on the bridge," he announced as she entered. Allison took her seat in the command chair. Keldar Prime filled the view screen, beautiful and vulnerable. 11 billion lives in her hands. "Weapons status?" she asked quietly. "Primary weapon damaged but functional at 60% power," John Reeves reported. "Enough to destroy the planet." Allison sat silently, looking at the world before her. She thought of Earth in ruins. She thought of Xandora and the Keldari seeking peace. She thought of the crew fighting itself, divided by what this ship had become. "Captain," John prompted. "Your orders." Allison stood up. "Open a channel. All frequencies. I want every Keldari on that planet to hear me." Laura Collins complied. "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Allison Boyd of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Retribution. Your world is targeted for destruction in retaliation for the attack on Earth. You have 1 hour to broadcast any final messages to your families." The bridge crew looked at her in surprise. This wasn't the standard procedure before destroying a planet. Usually, they just fired. For several minutes, there was no response from the planet. Then a voice came through, trembling but dignified. "This is First Speaker Jorvac of Keldar Prime. We are a civilian world. There are children here. Families. Please reconsider." Allison closed her eyes briefly. Then she made her decision. "First Speaker, I have evidence that your Grand Council manipulated this entire war, that they twisted your religious prophecies to maintain power, that they deliberately provoked Earth to use the planet killer weapon." She nodded to Laura, who began transmitting the data they had received from Xandora. "This information is now broadcasting on all frequencies. Your people deserve to know the truth before they die." The bridge was absolutely silent. John Reeves looked up from his weapons console in confusion. "Captain, the weapon is charged. Are we firing or not?" Allison watched the planet for a long moment more. Then she said, "Power down the weapon, Mr. Reeves." "But Earth," he began. "Earth would want justice, not blind revenge," Allison said firmly. "We've killed enough. The cycle ends here." On the view screen, they could see Keldari cities lighting up as the information spread. News channels broadcast the evidence. People filled the streets. Within the hour, reports came in of fighting at government buildings. The Grand Council was being overthrown by their own people. A new transmission came through. It was Xandora. "Captain Boyd, you chose mercy when you could have chosen destruction. Perhaps the true meaning of the prophecy is this, that our peoples would come to the edge of annihilation, and then stepped back. Together, Allison looked around at her crew, no longer divided, but united in purpose. The human dreadnought showed no mercy. Entire planets turned to ash, she said softly. But that story ends today. Now we write a new one. The Retribution moved through space toward the nearest Keldari homeworld. In her quarters, Allison stared at pictures of Earth. Chicago, where she grew up, was gone. Her parents, her sister, her nephew, all likely dead. The grief had turned into a cold rage that filled her completely. On the bridge, the crew worked in tense silence. Everyone had lost someone on Earth. The ship's sensors showed their target ahead. Keldar Prime, the main Keldari homeworld. Home to 11 billion Keldari. Weapon status. Allison ordered as she entered the bridge. Planet killer at full charge, John Reeves reported. His voice held no emotion now. Target locked. Security alert on Deck 12, reported a voice over the comm. Fighting reported in engineering. Frank Warren, the security chief, looked up from his station. Captain Danny Blackwell and several engineering crew have locked themselves in the main engine room. They're threatening to shut down the power to the weapon systems. Allison's face hardened. Handle it, Chief Warren. We can't have a mutiny. Not now. Frank left the bridge. Allison turned back to the view screen showing Keldar Prime. A beautiful blue-green world, like Earth had been. Captain, Rick said quietly beside her, I need to speak with you privately. In her ready room, Rick faced her with concern in his eyes. Allison, you need to reconsider this attack. 11 billion civilians. This isn't justice anymore. It's revenge. They killed Earth, Allison said flatly. Yes, and it's horrible beyond words, Rick agreed. But remember what Zandora told us. The Keldari leadership wanted this war. They manipulated their people just like they manipulated us. The civilians on that planet aren't responsible. Allison slammed her fist on the desk. So what would you have me do? Let Earth go unavenged? Before Rick could answer, Frank Warren's voice came over the comm. Captain, situation in engineering has escalated. Blackwell has 15 crew members with him. They're demanding to speak with you. Put him through, Allison ordered. Danny's voice filled the room. Captain, we won't let you destroy another planet. This has to stop. We've become the monsters in this story. You're committing mutiny, Mr. Blackwell, Allison said coldly. That's punishable by death in wartime. Better to die trying to save billions than live, knowing I helped kill them, Danny replied. The ship suddenly shuddered. Alarms blared. What was that? Allison demanded. Frank's voice came back, strained. They've damaged the power couplings to the main weapon. Security is trying to breach the door, but they've barricaded it. Rick looked at Allison. The crew is tearing itself apart, just like humanity and the Keldari. Something in his words struck her. Allison sat heavily in her chair. What were they becoming? The Retribution had destroyed 4 planets already, billions dead by her order. And now her own crew was fighting itself. The door to her ready room slid open. Frank Warren stood there with 6 security officers, all armed. Captain Boyd, Frank said formally, I'm relieving you of command. Allison stared at him in shock. On what grounds? Mental instability endangering the mission. Frank replied, half the crew stands with me. We've received the transmissions from the Keldari resistance. We know there's another way to end this war besides genocide. Rick stepped between them. Put down your weapons. This isn't how we solve this. It's too late for talk. Frank said, the captain has ordered the deaths of billions. We can't let that happen again. One of the security officers fired. The stun blast hit Rick in the chest. He collapsed. More security officers rushed in, and chaos erupted on the bridge. In the confusion, Allison slipped away. She knew where she needed to go. If the ship was dividing into factions, there was only one neutral party who might help her regain control. Dr. Olivia Martinez, and the ship's AI systems that she had programmed. As she made her way through the service tunnels toward the science lab, Allison heard weapons fire echoing through the ship. The Retribution, built to destroy planets, was now destroying itself from within. A month passed. The Retribution had destroyed 2 more Keldari worlds as ordered. The ship now moved through space like a dark legend. Alien species who had once been neutral in the human-Keldari conflict now avoided human ships entirely. They called the Retribution the Planet Eater in fearful whispers. Allison sat alone in her quarters, looking at the casualty reports. The numbers had become almost meaningless. Millions dead on both sides. The Keldari continued to attack human colonies, and humans continued to destroy Keldari planets in return. The cycle of revenge seemed endless. A knock at her door broke her thoughts. Lieutenant Maria Diaz, a junior communications officer, stood nervously in the hallway. "Captain, I need to speak with you privately," Maria said, her voice low. "It's about a transmission I intercepted." Allison led her in and locked the door. "What transmission?" "It wasn't sent to us," Maria explained. "It was between Keldari ships, but it was different from their usual communications. This group, they don't agree with the war. They call themselves the Truth Seekers." Allison's interest sharpened. "A Keldari resistance group?" "I think so," Maria said. "They believe their leaders are manipulating the prophecy for power. They've been trying to contact humans secretly, but Earth forces shoot at any Keldari ship they see now." Maria handed Allison a datapad. "I translated their messages. They want to meet with a human representative. They say they have information about why this war really started." Allison read the messages carefully. If this was true, it could change everything. But it could also be a trap. "Have you told anyone else about this?" she asked. Maria shook her head. "I wasn't sure who to trust. The crew is different now. Some people talk about wiping out all Keldari as if it's the only option." Allison knew what she meant. The war had changed them all. Even John Reeves, once driven by personal grief, now spoke of Keldari deaths with cold satisfaction. The Retribution was becoming what its name implied, a vessel of pure vengeance. "I'll handle this," Allison said. "Thank you, Lieutenant." After Maria left, Allison sent a private message to Rick Miller. She trusted him to keep a secret. Together, they planned a covert meeting with the Keldari resistance. 3 days later, a small shuttle left the Retribution, while the main ship was running routine maintenance. Only Rick and Allison were aboard. They traveled to an abandoned mining facility on a small asteroid, far from any regular patrol routes. They waited for an hour before a small Keldari ship arrived. A single Keldari emerged, smaller than Vorthax had been, with lighter blue skin. It wore no battle armor, only simple robes. "I am Zandora," the Keldari said. "I speak for those who seek truth among my people." Allison kept her hand near her weapon. "Why did you want to meet?" "To end this war before both our species are destroyed," Zandora replied. "My people's leaders have twisted our sacred texts. The prophecy never spoke of extermination. It spoke of transformation, of 2 species meeting in conflict, then finding a new path together." Zandora showed them ancient Keldari writings. "Our Grand Council are not religious leaders. They are military generals who seized power decades ago. They feared human expansion would eventually challenge their control. They used the prophecy to unite our people in war." Allison studied the alien carefully. "Why should I believe you?" "Because I can prove it," Zandora said. "The Council has records of their plans. They knew destroying human colonies would provoke a devastating response. They wanted you to use your planet killer. Each world you destroy strengthens their power as the prophecy appears to come true." Rick looked at Allison. "That explains why they seemed to welcome the destruction of Rigel IV." Before Allison could respond, her communicator beeped urgently. It was Nickel Harper on the Retribution. "Captain." Nickel's voice was filled with panic. Earth has been attacked. Multiple Keldari fleets bypassed our defenses. They hit major cities on every continent. Early estimates are billions dead. Allison felt the world tilt beneath her. Earth, her home, her family. Zandora stepped back, sensing the change. Captain, whatever you just heard. Your people attacked Earth. Allison said, her voice like ice. Billions dead. No, Zandora said. The council would not. But Allison wasn't listening anymore. Grief and rage filled her mind. She and Rick returned to their shuttle without another word. As they headed back to the Retribution, Rick asked quietly, "What are your orders, Captain?" Allison stared ahead, her face hard as stone. "Set course for the 3 nearest Keldari worlds. We're going to make them pay." 3 days after Rigel IV became dust, a message came for the Retribution. It was broadcast on all frequencies, meant for every human ship and colony to hear. The sender identified itself as the Keldari Grand Council. Allison gathered her senior officers in the conference room to watch it. The message showed 7 Keldari, their skin darker than Vorthax's had been, seated in a half circle. They wore elaborate metal headpieces that curved like horns. "Humans," the center figure spoke, "you have revealed yourselves as the great destroyers foretold in our sacred texts. For 10,000 years, our prophets have warned of beings who would come from distant stars and turn worlds to ash. Now you have fulfilled that prophecy." Rick Miller glanced at Allison, his expression troubled. The destruction of Rigel IV marks the beginning of the final cleansing. The Keldari continued. "All Keldari now unite in holy war against you. There will be no peace. There will be no surrender. Either your kind will be erased from the galaxy, or ours will die trying to erase you. This is the will of the prophets." The message ended. The room was silent until Ben Summers, the tactical officer, spoke up. "Captain, I've been studying Keldari transmissions since Nicole's discovery. Their religious texts speak of an apocalyptic war that would unify their people. Before we destroyed Rigel IV, the Keldari were divided into competing factions. Now they're united against us. Are you saying they wanted us to destroy their planet?" Allison asked. "Not exactly," Ben replied. "But their leadership seems to have manipulated events to fulfill their prophecy. The attack on our colonies, the refusal to negotiate, the immediate counterstrike against New Haven, they were pushing us to respond with maximum force." Allison felt sick. We played right into their hands. A message alert sounded. Admiral Franklin appeared on the screen, his face grim. "Captain Boyd, we've lost contact with 3 more colonies. Keldari attacks are increasing. The Grand Council's message has been received on Earth. Panic is spreading." Allison straightened her shoulders. "What are your orders, sir?" "The Defense Council has authorized strikes against 2 more Keldari worlds, Corvus III and Shenth Prime. Both have military installations and shipyards. Both must be destroyed." The connection ended. Allison looked around at her officers. Some nodded in agreement with the orders. Others looked away, unable to meet her eyes. Dr. Olivia Martinez entered the conference room. "Captain, I've made improvements to the Planet Killer. It's more efficient now. We can destroy a planet with 30% less energy, which means faster recharge times between targets." Danny Blackwell stood up suddenly. "How can you all talk like this is normal? We're discussing wiping out entire planets. Billions of lives." "They started this war," John Reeves said sharply. "They've killed hundreds of thousands of our people already." "And how many of them have we killed?" Danny shot back. 2.5 million on Rigel IV alone. We've already killed more of them than they've killed of us." The room erupted in argument. Half the officers sided with Danny, the other half with John. Allison let it continue for a minute, then slammed her hand on the table. "Enough. We have our orders. I don't like them any more than you do, Danny. But every colony we lose is another 50,000 humans dead. What would you have me do?" Danny had no answer. He walked out of the room. the door sliding shut behind him. Nickel Harper, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Captain, what if the prophecy Kildare mentioned isn't just about destruction? What if there's more to it that we don't understand yet?" "Find out," Allison ordered. "I want to know everything about this prophecy. Why would their leaders want this war? Why would they manipulate us into destroying their worlds?" As the meeting broke up, Allison stayed behind, staring at the star chart. 2 more planets marked for destruction. How many more after that? How many planets would turn to ash before this war ended? And the most troubling question of all, what if destroying these worlds was exactly what the Kildare wanted them to do? Allison stared at the tactical display. Another human colony gone. 30,000 more lives lost. Her hand shook as she pressed the comm button. "Get me Earth Command," she said. Minutes later, Admiral Franklin's grim face appeared on the screen. Allison reported what had happened. The demonstration. The Kildare response. The threat to destroy more colonies. Franklin listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. "We received the transmission from Epsilon Eridani," he finally said. "There were no survivors." The bridge crew looked down at their stations. Some had friends on New Haven. "Admiral," Allison said, "the Kildare commander made it clear. They won't stop. They believe they're fulfilling some kind of prophecy by wiping us out." Franklin's face hardened. "Then we have no choice. Captain Boyd, you are hereby authorized to use the Retribution's primary weapon at full capacity. Your target is Rigel IV and the Kildare fleet." Allison felt her throat tighten. "Sir, there are likely Kildare civilians on that planet." "How many civilians were on New Haven?" Franklin asked. "How many on Proxima Centauri B?" "The Kildare made their choice, Captain. Now we make ours." "Those are your orders." The screen went dark. Allison turned to face her crew. They were watching her, waiting. "Set course for optimal firing position," she said quietly. "Prepare the main weapon." As the ship moved into position, Chief Engineer Danny Blackwell reported from the engine room. "Captain, the core is charged. We're ready to fire on your command." John Reeves spoke from the weapons station. "Target locked. Estimated Kildare presence on Rigel IV is 2 million military personnel and approximately 500,000 civilians." Rick Miller stepped closer to Allison. "Captain, are we really going to do this? Destroy an entire planet?" "They've killed nearly 300,000 of our people," Allison replied. "They've made it clear they won't stop until we're extinct." Rick nodded slowly. "I understand. But this won't be like destroying a moon. This is genocide." Allison finished for him. "I know." She walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at Rigel IV. From space, it looked peaceful. She thought of Earth, how it looked from orbit. How many Kildare would look up at their sky in the next few minutes, not knowing it was the last sky they would ever see. "Open a channel to War Commander Vorthax," Allison ordered. The Kildare commander appeared on screen. "Have you come to surrender, human?" "No," Allison said. "I've come to give you one last chance to evacuate your people from Rigel IV. You have 1 hour." Vorthax made that grinding laugh again. "Your threats are empty. Even now, our ships move against another of your colonies. Perhaps you would like to watch." "No," Allison said. "I would not." She cut the transmission and turned to John Reeves. "Fire when ready." John's finger hovered over the control. For a brief moment, doubt crossed his face. Then he remembered his family. He pressed the button. The beam that shot from the Retribution was brighter than before, impossibly bright. It struck Rigel IV at its north pole. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then the planet's crust began to crack. Massive fissures spread across its surface like spider webs. The planet seemed to shudder. Then it exploded from within, chunks of its core shooting outward into space. The Kildare ships in orbit were caught in the blast, destroyed instantly. In less than 5 minutes, Where there had been a planet, there was only debris. On the bridge of the Retribution, no one spoke. Danny Blackwell's voice came over the comm, broken and hollow. "What have we done? My God, what have we done?" Allison couldn't answer. She stared at the floating remains of the planet. 2.5 million lives, gone by her order. Captain Nickel Harper, the intelligence officer, said softly, "I've been analyzing the Keldari transmissions we intercepted before the planet was destroyed." Allison turned to her. "What did you find?" "It's strange," Nickel said. "Some of the messages suggest the Keldari leadership expected this, even welcomed it. One message referred to the prophecy being fulfilled and the coming of the planet eaters as if they wanted us to do this." Allison looked back at the debris field that had been Rigel IV. "Why would they want us to destroy their planet?" "I don't know," Nickel said, "but I think we just did exactly what they hoped we would do." The Retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Rigel system. The bridge was silent as the sensors scanned for Keldari ships. Allison sat in the captain's chair, her fingers tapping on the armrest. "Multiple contacts detected," announced Kelly Wright from the sensor station. "Keldari warships in orbit around Rigel IV. Looks like some kind of base." Allison stood up and walked to the main view screen. Rigel IV was a desert planet, not suitable for human colonization. Perfect for a forward operating base for the Keldari fleet. 17 ships, Captain, Kelly continued, including one that matches the profile of the ship that attacked Proxima Centauri. John Reeves, now Allison's weapons officer, turned in his chair. His eyes were cold. "The planet shows signs of major construction. They're building something big down there. Might be a staging area for attacks deeper into human space." Allison took a deep breath. "Open a channel to the Keldari fleet." Laura Collins, the communications specialist, looked up in surprise. "You want to talk to them?" "I have my orders," Allison said. "We offer them one chance to leave human space. After that..." She didn't need to finish. Everyone on the bridge knew what the Retribution could do. A moment later, a Keldari face appeared on the view screen. The alien had gray-blue skin and large black eyes. Ridges ran along its skull like a crown. "I am Captain Allison Boyd of the Earth Defense Fleet," Allison said clearly. "You have attacked human colonies without provocation. You have killed hundreds of thousands of our people. I am here to demand that you cease all hostilities and withdraw from human space immediately." The Keldari commander made a sound like rocks grinding together. When it spoke, the translator converted its words to English. "I am War Commander Vorthax of the Keldari Purification Fleet," it said. "Your species spreads like a disease across the stars. The prophets have foretold your extinction. We are merely the instrument of that prophecy." Allison kept her face neutral, but her hands tightened into fists at her sides. "We have no wish for war, Commander, but we will defend ourselves. I suggest you look at your sensors again. My ship is not like those you have faced before." Vorthax made a gesture that the translator identified as laughter. "Your ship is large, human, but size will not save you. The prophets have spoken. Your kind will burn." Laura Collins suddenly turned from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up Keldari transmissions. They're planning an attack on Earth, directly on Earth, 3 days from now." Allison felt cold all over. Earth had defenses, but nothing that could stop a determined Keldari fleet. "Commander Vorthax," Allison said, her voice hard now, "I will give you a demonstration of what happens if you continue on this path." She nodded to John Reeves. "Target that small moon. Minimum power." John's fingers moved over his console. "Target locked." "Fire," Allison ordered. From the front of the Retribution, a beam of energy brighter than a sun lanced out. It struck the small, uninhabited moon orbiting Rigel IV. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cracks spread across the moon's surface. In seconds, the moon broke apart, fragments spinning away into space. The bridge was silent. Allison stared at Vorthax on the screen, watching for a reaction. "That was a small demonstration," she said. "Leave human space now, or next time, we won't target an empty moon." Vorthax stared back, its alien face unreadable. Then it made that grinding laugh again. "Impressive, human, but futile. Let me show you our response." The screen changed to show another human colony. Allison recognized it as New Haven in the Epsilon Eridani system. 30,000 colonists lived there. On the screen, Keldari ships appeared above the colony. Beams of energy rained down. Cities vanished in flashes of light. The entire colony was gone in minutes. "This is our answer," Vorthax said when its face returned to the screen. "For every demonstration you make, we will erase another human nest. How many will you sacrifice before you accept your fate?" The transmission cut off. Allison stood frozen, staring at the blank screen. "Captain," Rick Miller said quietly beside her. "Orders." The Montana hung in Earth's orbit like a giant metal whale. Once meant to carry hopeful colonists to new worlds, it was now surrounded by construction drones. Allison Boyd watched from the shuttle window as she approached. The ship no longer looked like a vessel of peace. "They've added weapon mounts all along the hull," Rick Miller said beside her. Allison had insisted her second-in-command join her on this new assignment. "Those aren't just weapon mounts," Allison replied. "Those are planet killer cannons." The shuttle docked with the Montana, now renamed the EDF Retribution. Dr. Olivia Martinez waited for them in the landing bay. Her eyes had dark circles under them, and her lab coat was wrinkled as if she had slept in it. "Captain Boyd," she said with a tired smile. "Welcome to humanity's answer to the Keldari." Olivia led them through corridors filled with engineers and scientists. The colony ship's wide hallways, once designed for families, now housed weapon systems and power conduits. "We've converted the residential sections into weapon control centers," Olivia explained. "The farm domes are now reactors. And the main colony deployment bay is." She paused at a massive door. A sign read "Restricted Area, Project Sunfall." "This is what will make the Keldari think twice about attacking us again," Olivia said quietly. Inside, a team worked around a device that looked like a small sun contained in magnetic fields. A man stood watching the scientists, his face hard with grief and anger. He turned when they entered. "Captain, this is Lieutenant Commander John Reeves," Olivia said. "He's heading our weapons division." Allison recognized the name. "You lost family on Proxima Centauri." "My wife and son," John said, his voice tight. "I volunteered for this assignment the day after I heard." John explained the weapon while they walked around it. "It's a planet killer, plain and simple. It creates a reaction that destabilizes a planet's core. We can target military installations only, or..." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. "Or we can crack the planet apart," Olivia finished for him. "End it completely." Allison felt sick. Is this what we've come to? Destroying entire worlds? "They started this," John said sharply. "The Keldari didn't just attack our colonies. They didn't just kill our people. They're trying to wipe us out completely." A message came over the ship's comm. "Captain Boyd to communications. Urgent news from Ta City." In the communications room, Allison watched footage from another human colony under attack. The Keldari ships were sleek and deadly, their weapons turning cities to ash in seconds. The transmission cut off suddenly. Another 50,000 humans gone. That night, Allison couldn't sleep. She stood at the viewport in her new quarters aboard the Retribution, looking at Earth below. Her homeworld was beautiful and peaceful from here. She wondered if the Keldari had once looked at their world the same way, before fear turned them into killers. The door chimed. It was Rick Miller. "The engineering team wants you to know the weapon tests were successful," he said, "and Admiral Franklin has sent final orders." He handed her a tablet. The orders were simple. Find the Keldari fleet. Offer them one chance to retreat from human space permanently. If they refuse, demonstrate the Retribution's power. The last line made Allison's stomach clench. If diplomacy fails, you are authorized to use any means necessary to ensure humanity's survival. We leave tomorrow, Allison said. Tell the crew. Rick hesitated. Do you think we're doing the right thing, building this kind of weapon? Allison looked back at Earth. I don't know, but I know what happens if we do nothing. More colonies die. Maybe Earth too, eventually. She handed the tablet back to Rick. We're not starting this war, but we might be the ones to end it. As Rick left, Allison made a silent promise to herself. The Retribution would live up to its name, but she would make sure there was justice in that retribution, not just blind vengeance. She just wasn't sure yet how to find that balance. The message came at 300 hours, jerking Captain Allison Boyd from her sleep. The emergency alarm blared through her quarters on the EDF Guardian, a sound she had heard in drills, but never in real combat. Captain to the bridge, said a tense voice over the comm. Allison pulled on her uniform and rushed through the corridors. Crew members stepped aside, their faces tight with worry. When she reached the bridge, the main screen showed a colony in flames. Proxima Centauri, said Commander Rick Miller, his voice hollow. We received their distress signal 30 minutes ago. It stopped broadcasting 10 minutes ago. Allison stared at the screen. Proxima Centauri was home to 50,000 colonists. It was the third largest human settlement outside the solar system. What happened? She asked. Unknown ships entered the system without warning, Rick said. They didn't respond to hails. They just started firing. Allison's orders came quickly. Set course for Proxima Centauri. Maximum speed. The Guardian jumped to faster than light travel, but Allison knew they would be too late. The colony was 4 light hours away. Their fastest speed would get them there in 2 hours. By then, whoever attacked would be long gone. 2 hours later, the Guardian dropped out of FTL near Proxima Centauri. The planet's night side glowed with fires visible from space. The day side showed black scars where cities had stood. Any sign of the attackers? Allison asked. Negative, Captain, said Sensors Officer Kelly Wright. But I'm detecting a single life sign on the main colony. It's faint. Prep a shuttle. I'm going down with a medical team, Allison said. The shuttle landed in what used to be the colony's central plaza. Buildings burned around them. Bodies lay everywhere. Allison had seen war before, but nothing like this. They found the survivor in the ruins of the communication center. His name tag read Greg Warren. His body was crushed under a fallen beam, but he was conscious. Captain, he wheezed when he saw Allison's uniform. Thank God. The medic scanned him and shook her head slightly. Greg didn't have long. Who did this? Allison asked gently. The Keldari, Greg said. They came without warning. Said humans were expanding too fast. Said we were a plague. He coughed blood. With shaking hands, he pressed a small crystal into Allison's palm. Recorded everything, he said. Not just here. They're hitting every colony they can find. Systematic. This was planned for years. Greg's eyes glazed. My family. My daughters. He died before Allison could comfort him. The medic closed his eyes. Back on the Guardian, Allison inserted the crystal into the ship's computer. The data revealed a disturbing truth. The Keldari, an alien species humans had never officially contacted, had been observing Earth's expansion into space for decades. They had determined humans were a threat and had begun a campaign to eliminate all human settlements outside the solar system. 3 days later, Allison stood before Admiral Peter Franklin and Earth's Defense Council. The room was silent after her report. How many colonies have we lost? Asked Franklin, his face ashen. 7 confirmed, sir, Allison replied. Communications are down with 12 others. Franklin's fist hit the table. That's almost 200,000 civilians. The Keldari ships are faster than ours, Allison continued. Better armed. But we've analyzed their attack patterns. They're methodical, moving from the outer colonies inward. We have time to prepare. Prepare what? Asked a council member. We've never built warships like these Caldari have. Our fleet is mostly exploration and colonization vessels. Admiral Franklin stood up slowly. Then we'll build something new, something they won't expect. He turned to the window, looking out at Earth's orbital shipyards. Captain Boyd, you've seen what these Caldari can do. I'm putting you on a new assignment. As of now, you'll be overseeing the conversion of the colony ship Montana. We're turning it into a weapon. Allison felt cold. The Montana was meant to carry 10,000 people to a new home. Now it would become something else entirely. Yes, sir, she said quietly. Make no mistake, Franklin said to the room. This is no longer about defense. The Caldari have declared war on humanity, and we will respond.